Marcus Lacy was born and raised in the countryside of the United Kingdom. At the age of 18, he started moving to live and work in London, where he started love for photography. Lacy spent a long time pursuing photography and video production in London. However, when he arrived in Hanoi, Vietnam 2 years ago, his passion for photography really exploded in this city. He loved every corner of the old town, small alleys, historic buildings, or street vendors. For Marcus, photography is really a hobby, a job, and also a way for him to keep every image of the lands he went through. The beauty of Hanoi for Marcus is as a precious jewel, undergoing a rapid change of space and time. These jewels do exude a soul of the 1,000-year-old capital. He spends a lot of time researching the history of landmarks in Hanoi. For more than 2 years living and working here, he wanders around the corners in Hanoi to find beautiful camera angles, capture the most beautiful moments of life and people. He especially liked the natural scenery and tried to capture many beautiful photos because they were parts of creating a very unique Hanoi compared with other cities in the world. His works have inspired many Vietnamese and international friends about a different and impressive Hanoi. Hello and welcome everyone to Sharing Vietnam on VT's10 NetViet channel. There is a man who has been spending over the last 2 years staying in Hanoi and pursuing passion for photography in this city. Today in this program, please come and join us to know more about Marcus Lacy and his work. Thank you, Mr. Marcus, for joining our program today. So what are the motivations for you to stay here and stick with the photography here in this city?
So I've been here for 2 years, little over 2 years, and since I've been here, I've been lucky enough to travel to Cambodia and Thailand. I've been concentrating on photographing Hanoi though. Well, firstly, Hanoi is very unique in the world. Its history, because of its architecture and its location, and obviously now being the capital of Vietnam, is a stunning and beautiful city. So it's been a real pleasure to photograph it, and because it's changing so dramatically and so quickly now, it's really important for me to try to photograph all of it as concisely and as quickly as possible. I think that the major motivation with myself and my work and Hanoi is really like it's a glimpse or a view into the past. So, you know, you could be looking at an old building that's a Vietnamese building or an old Franco architecture building or just an alleyway. And that alleyway may not have changed for 50, 60, 100 years. Now that is very rare in cities around the world, even old cities and new cities that have been kept the same. They're still restored. And that's just a really beautiful thing to see. It's like almost walking straight into a time machine. So having the opportunity to photograph those places before they're lost is a real privilege.
Could you please share about the projects that you have been doing in Vietnam now and even in the future?
What I do for a living is I'm a video editor, so my work comes from the United Kingdom. That allows me to take photographs here in Asia, and in Vietnam I've spent the last 2 years just concentrating on photographing Hanoi. Now I've finished that and completed a book. I'm going to work on photographing the whole of Vietnam now. So my challenge now is to obviously do that as quickly as possible, try to do it with the seasons, so photographing the different regions in their most beautiful period or in a number of different periods. So going to be photographing Central Vietnam, North Vietnam and South Vietnam as quickly as I can. So I haven't actually been to many places in Vietnam. I mean, I've been concentrating on photographing Hanoi. So Hanoi is obviously really beautiful because of the West Lake, because of the river, because of the architecture. And you have places around North Vietnam that are famous, obviously Ha Long Bay and Sapa and Ninh Binh. Now, they are unique and special for me because of the geology and because of the mountains.
You have been in many different cities in the world other than Hanoi, so could you please share about the comparison of you between making the photos and doing photographies in Hanoi compared to the other cities?
Sure, that's a really interesting question, because I was born in England and was raised in the countryside in England. So a lot of the things that I find beautiful about Hanoi and the countryside around Hanoi reminds me of being a child in Suffolk in England. But as a young man at 18, I moved straight to London. So I've lived in London for many years and worked there as a photographer and video director. I've also lived in Wellington in New Zealand and their biggest city, which is Auckland. Now, what's fascinating about a lot of beautiful cities is they're either river-based or they're based by the sea. Now, what's amazing about Hanoi is, you know, the Red River and the delta and the countryside around it make it unique and make it really fascinating. But one of the most exciting things about Hanoi is that it is changing so quickly, and that a lot of the old historical buildings are still here and still so fascinating.
During the time that you are working with the photography in this changing city, what kind of troubles and difficulties have you encountered?
You know, the most difficult thing here really is moisture for the equipment. Moisture and dust, and just trying to keep your camera equipment clean. That's the hardest thing. The strangest thing is going to parts of the city that haven't been to for 6 months, and everything has changed. So you can't recognize anything.
For 2 years of efforts, Marcus Lacy released a picture book entitled Hanoi Photography Collection. The book captures the everyday moments of Hanoi people and impressive scenes. Among thousands of photos about Hanoi, Marcus selected nearly 200 of his favorite photos to be included in the Hanoi Photographic Picture Book. In this book, he also wants viewers to feel the soul, ups and downs of Hanoi through 12 separate photo chapters. The British photographer often put his interest in simple and small corners, which not so many people paid attention to in this land of richness, such as a wall plaster with leaflets, old and full fruit bicycle, or a grocery store lying dormantly in the sun, or green door leading into the house which is tinted with time. His photographs of Hanoi are very simple but soulful, capturing every bit of very special beauty that we cannot find anywhere else besides Hanoi. His works are well received by many people.
Thế thì mình quen Marcus được khoảng hơn 1 năm, thì cũng rất là thú vị, là bởi vì thỉnh thoảng thì mình có hay qua nhà bạn mình chơi, thì Marcus cũng ở chung nhà với cả bạn mình. Thế thì bản thân mình cũng rất là yêu thích nhiếp ảnh và cũng có tham gia một vài dự án. Thế thì cứ mỗi lần mấy người gặp nhau thì lại trò chuyện xem là hôm nay chụp ở đâu và gặp người này người kia. Thế sau đấy thì Marcus cũng có cho mình xem một vài bức ảnh của bạn, và sau đấy thì về sau này thì mình cũng có cơ hội để hỗ trợ giúp Marcus trong một số các cái dự án chụp ảnh của bạn ý. Thì mình thấy cũng rất là thú vị, là bởi vì thực ra thì mình sinh ra và lớn lên ở đây. Tuy nhiên thì có những cái chỗ mà hàng ngày mình vẫn cứ đi qua, hàng ngày mình vẫn cứ nhìn thấy, nhưng mà bản thân mình chỉ thấy đây là nó rất là quen thuộc với mình rồi. Nhưng mà khi mà mình nhìn lên cái bức ảnh đấy thì mình thấy nó là một cái góc nhìn khác, mà bản thân mình chưa bao giờ đứng lại một chỗ để cảm nhận nó. Thế nhưng mà khi mà cái khung cảnh đấy nó hiện lên trên cái bức ảnh của Marcus thì tự nhiên lại cho mình thấy mình yêu cái nơi đấy nhiều hơn.
Even Hanoi's nightlife is faithfully reproduced by the photographer Marcus Lacy. Hanoi is like a combination of the contradictions, the simplicity and the noise, the classic and the modernity, the peace and the excitement, and the tradition of the East and the freshness of the West. I wanted to know more about the photo book you have created about Hanoi.
The first thing is to, massive thank you to absolutely everybody that has helped me. Because of social media now, what I've been able to do is take photographs, put them on social media, and have local Vietnamese people as well as Hanoi people, so people from all over Vietnam and all over the world, and Westerners as well, is giving me advice, so tell me new locations that I should shoot. And so through that sort of networking of feedback, I've been able to photograph the whole city and do research on its history, and obviously just go out into the field and photographing places again and again and learn the city. And that's allowed me to, I think, do a book that represents not just the sort of beautiful pictures of Hanoi, but is actually a biography, so that make Hanoi not just unique in Southeast Asia, but unique in the world. So it's been a challenge in a number of different ways. Some things just take a lot of time to particularly get a really good shot. Sometimes that you need the light just to be absolutely perfect, and that could be in the middle of the morning or the afternoon. Sometimes you also need cars out the way, or sometimes it's really beautiful to have a person in the shot, and that needs to be photographed again and again. But of course, Hanoi is stunning during Tet because of the flowers. So, you know, you need to be in a city, or you need to be in a place over a long period of time to understand it, and then to obviously photograph something that happens like Tet only one time in the year. So I've also spent a lot of time shooting the natural history. That's taken a long time because you can't really plan it. You can only just go out and try to photograph what is out there. And there is a lot of natural history in Hanoi, especially because it's still so close to the countryside.
What kind of feedback from friends and observers that you receive for your work?
Feedback that I get from, I'd say, foreigners, not just Westerners, but foreigners that are here and they see the parts of Hanoi that are so special and so beautiful. And what it is really strange, because what reminds them or makes them feel connected to that's this beautiful, you know, that's really, really important. So that, again, that's another huge motivation, is having that feedback, yeah.
Nowadays, cities are changing a lot. So what do you think about the importance of the photography to the changing and development of those cities, especially in this capital?
Well, I think one of the major questions about any city in the world is how to develop successfully, and how everyone in the world can contribute to and understand how to have better cities, because we're all growing our cities. Our cities are becoming where the majority of people live now, and so having a better city or better cities everywhere in the world is obviously going to be better for everybody, and understanding how that happens or how that can be made is really important. And photography can really help with that, because photography is also, obviously, it's a record, first of all, of what a scene or what a place looks like, but it can also be a representation of what, you know, a city should look like and what you shouldn't lose. So you shouldn't lose, you know, green parks and places with trees and beautiful streets with, you know, tree-lined vistas and, you know, great lakes and things like that. All of those things can really be helped with photography.
Thank you, Mr. Marcus, for all your sharing today. We hope that you always have passion for photography in Vietnam, especially in Hanoi. That is the end of our program today. If you have any comment, please send emails to us through sharingvietnam@netvietTV.net. Thank you and see you.